As soon as the college entrance exams were over, my parents took my foster sister and brother on a trip. While they were away, I took my ID and our household registration book to the police station to move my registration back to my foster mom's place. When the exam results came out, reporters came to ask my parents how they raised the top scorer in our province. I pointed to my foster mom next to me and said with a smile, "This is my real mom." After the last test, I walked out of the exam room. A crowd of parents was waiting at the school gate. As I casually walked out, I spotted Becky running into her parents' arms. She got into a fancy car and drove away, throwing a challenging smile my way. Jason came over and asked, "Wanna grab a meal?" As I walked and turned on my phone, I saw several caring messages from my foster mom. I smiled, texted her back, and put my phone away. "No need," I told Jason. "If I don't go home, they won't leave for their trip." Becky's parents and brother planned the trip 3 months ago to celebrate the end of college entrance exams. After all, she passed several art exams for universities. Jason licked his lips, clenched his fists, looking a bit uneasy. "All right, warrior girl. Remember what you promised me?" My face got a little red. It was a hot day. "Got it, boyfriend." I promised him I wouldn't date in high school, but after the exams, I'd agree to be his girlfriend. He was eager for that title right after the exams. Jason let out a sigh and said, "I'll pick you up tonight," before running off like he was on fire wheels. When I got home, Becky was bustling around in a new dress, full of youthful energy. "Make sure to bring sunscreen. Mom's so pretty, we can't let her get tanned. In this book, it's my brother's favorite. Oh, and Dad's beloved tea." Becky always spoke in a sweet voice that made everyone happy. Not like me. I'm all awkward with words. "Molly, you're back? How'd it go?" Becky was the first to greet me as usual. The lively atmosphere got awkward as soon as I showed up. "Huh. What's to ask about her grades? She's always at the bottom." Henry, who often ranks second to last, felt superior over me, the consistent last place. "You stay home and study English while we're away. I've arranged for you to study abroad, get a degree. Then we'll find you a good match," my dad said firmly. "Molly, you gotta try harder. You're my daughter. At least do something right," Becky's mom added, clearly frustrated. "Got it." I stood there without any emotion, taking in their criticisms. "We're flying out tonight. Don't cause trouble or embarrass me while we're gone," Becky's dad instructed. "Have a great trip," I replied calmly. But they hated my indifferent attitude, thinking I was giving up. "I'll have the housekeeper keep an eye on you. Don't go out. You'll only embarrass us with those grades," Becky's dad added. I nodded to everything he said. He kept lecturing until they had to leave. They snorted before going out for their month-long trip. I hoped they'd enjoy, especially after the exam results came in. After they left, the housekeeper arrogantly said, "I'll arrange an English tutor for you tomorrow. Don't wander off." I gave him a cold look and went to my room. That startled him, and he kept grumbling in the hall. I started packing with a backpack. I'd already secretly taken the registration book. Other than a notebook, water bottle, and bank card I bought when I first came to Becky's family, I took nothing else. Every item in this room was tinged with their presence, and I hated it. But leaving like this felt unjust. I endured a lot pretending for money these past 3 years, so I trashed everything I could. Clothes and bags got slashed. In half an hour, the room was a mess, and I felt much better. With my cheap backpack, I left in good spirits. "You look like you're in a good mood." Just stepping outside the complex, Jason was there, leaning dramatically on a pink Harley, decked in black biker gear. I barely suppressed a laugh. "What's this?" "My dad says girls like cool guys, and my mom says they like pink. I think they're both right." Not wanting to crush his naive love-struck eyes, I almost agreed with him, hands and feet. "You're right, I like it a lot." "Where to?" Jason blushed, eyes sparkling. "Let's find a hotel first. Then tomorrow I'll handle the registration transfer and head to the train station. I want to go back to City A. It's been 3 years since I've been back home to A, and I only got to video call my foster mom secretly. Now free, I wanted to spread wings and fly there. Having Doraemon's magic door would have been perfect." At the police station the next day, the registration transfer went smoothly since I'd prepared everything. Now I just had to wait for notifications. I asked Jason to drive me to the train station. Even though he wasn't happy, he played it cool. How many days are you going for? We just started dating, and less than a week later, we're going long distance. Jason took my backpack and placed it in the front compartment of the motorcycle. I was looking down, kicking at the stones on the ground. Wanna come with me? I was surprised I even asked him that. But I didn't really regret it. Jason had this smug look on his face, sure. Afraid I'd change my mind, he had me hop onto the pink Harley. I held on to him tight as we sped off to the train station. Last night's darkness hid us from passers-by. Now in the daylight, the pink and black got a lot of stares. I buried my face into Jason's back, feeling embarrassed. But thank goodness we had helmets on. And thank goodness the Harley was fast enough. Back in City A, my foster mom was thrilled. When I was forced to come back, she was both happy for me and guilty. I always told her I was doing well, but she knew better. She could see through my lies, but was helpless about it. When she heard I was moving my registration back, she was as happy as a kid. I had already turned off my phone when I left home, and got a new number. I didn't find out that the day after I left, the butler ratted me out to Dad. When he couldn't reach me, he got even angrier. Dad's group of 4 were out on a trip, but my rebellion kept souring their mood. With Jason's help, what should have been a week-long registration process was done in 2 days. So, I comfortably stayed in City A with my foster mom until the college entrance exams results came out. The day we could check the results, Jason and I went hiking early in the morning. We didn't remember to check the scores until late that night. I entered my ID and logged in. Total score, 712. When he saw the results, Jason gave a funny look. What's up? Just got word that the top scorer in our state scored 712. Oh really? What's that got to do with me? I didn't get it at first. Just thought it was better than I expected. My brother jumped and hugged me. Sis, you're the top scorer. You're amazing, just like I thought you'd be. That's when it hit me. I accidentally scored the highest in our state. I was just hoping to shock Becky's family with my results. Turns out I ended up as the state's top scorer. That should make for an even better show. I powered on my phone for the first time in over 2 weeks. Messages started pouring in, my phone buzzing like crazy. One particular number stood out with multiple calls. 3 or 4 before I turned off my phone. And over 10 today alone. It was buzzing again. I hung up with a smirk. Mom, I'm going back to City B tomorrow. I haven't picked up my diploma, and there's a lot to take care of. I'll come back once it's all done. Will there be trouble? My mom looked worried. I gave her a confident smile. No worries, trouble's for other people. She looked at me. All right, no matter what happens, I'm here for you. They won't take you from me. You're my dearest daughter. I stood tall, feeling like a proud peacock. Of course. Once in City B, I skipped home and went directly to school. My teacher and classmates knew from Jason that I was coming. Outside the school gates, a mass of people, and even some reporters awaited. And there was my birth family too. Shocked, disbelieving, and jealous eyes stared at me, and I welcomed it. Not a single one of them dared to speak. A bottom-ranked student suddenly topping the state is hard to believe. Molly, you know cheating on exams is a crime. Becky's eyes were filled with worry. Becky, spreading rumors is also a crime. Falsely accusing people comes at no cost to you. Enough, whatever means you used to get this score, you should confess. Dad immediately condemned me. I was planning to handle this quietly. But now there's no need to hold back. Everything needs proof. You can't just accuse me of cheating without evidence. Am I that brilliant to cheat my way to the top? Just because I struggled in high school, doesn't mean I can't smash these exams. I smirked at Becky's family. A reporter-looking person approached with a mic. How did you go from last to top scorer? Any study tips you'd like to share? Sure. The tip is to study hard and not cram last minute. My bad high school grades? Well, some people didn't think I deserved to do well, so I purposely answered wrong. If you don't believe me, check my old tests. For multiple choice, I picked the answer right after the correct one. For multi-answer questions, I always went with the wrong ones. For other questions, I'd only answer one and write the results without the process. Teachers, you probably have past exams on file. Feel free to check. Everyone seemed struck by lightning, speechless. Then someone shouted, "Wait, weren't you also the physics competition champ from City A?" Back in middle school, I participated in a physics competition organized in City A. Because of my impressive ranking, I got accepted into a top high school in City A. However, for various reasons, I ended up moving to City B. Things got chaotic, and with the media wanting to dig into my test papers, the school leaders ushered everyone into a conference room. Becky's dad wanted to take me home, but I said no. I begged the teacher to arrange an empty classroom for us. I had Jason wait for me at the door. Then I sat with Becky's family in that empty classroom. "You did so well on your tests, but for 3 years you deliberately embarrassed us, right?" Becky's dad was quick to blame me as usual. The first time I took a physics practice test after transferring, I ranked 3rd in the class, and you all thought I cheated. I said I didn't, but you didn't believe me. Becky exaggerated, saying the first-place student was right in front of me during the test, convincing you all I had to have cheated. Becky stood behind her dad, tears welling up in her red eyes, looking all pitiful as she always knew how to do. That look always made everyone believe it wasn't her fault. Just like now. Henry shouted at me, "She didn't name anyone, but you're acting guilty." I laughed softly and stepped closer to him. "Remember back then, who shouted the loudest about cheating? It was you, huh? You had just been caught cheating in a midterm exam and tried to divert attention by pinning it on me. Then you paid someone off to downplay your cheating scandal." Henry stepped back scared. "How did you know?" "And later, when my test scores plummeted, you all acted like it was exactly what you expected." I turned to Becky's dad. "So I was just living up to your expectations." Becky's dad, face dark and anger barely contained, shouted a curt enough. "Let the past be the past. Getting top in the province, well done. We'll throw a party tomorrow to celebrate. And maybe announce your identity officially. We didn't want to interrupt your studies all these years by doing that." Typical businessman, really trying to brush everything under the rug. "With those scores, you can go to any school here. What matters is picking a good major, so you'll be able to find a match." He couldn't keep his smile from looking more and more smug and scheming. I cut him off before he could finish. Being interrupted so abruptly didn't sit well with him. But he kept smiling, albeit a fake one, considering my outstanding performance. "There's something you might not know. The day you left for that trip, I moved my household registration out of your place. So legally, we're nothing to each other. And me topping the province has nothing to do with you." "What did you say?" Becky's dad looked furious. "Sir, maybe your hearing's not great as you age." "Becky, repeat what I said to him." Not gonna let him pretend he didn't hear. "Molly, how could you do this? This is ungrateful." "Molly, don't you realize what you're losing? Really think they're all that, huh?" "Lose what? If it weren't for you making me come back here, I wouldn't have been separated from my mom for 3 years." "What are you saying? I'm your mom. How could you be so misguided by that awful woman?" "I can take them insulting me, I don't care. But I won't allow them to call my mom awful." "Shut it. You have no right to talk about her. You never raised or taught me. You just looked down on me. What right do you have to be my mom?" My words were so harsh. She couldn't believe I yelled at her over someone else. Her face fell apart. 3 years of rebellion is enough. Tomorrow fix the registration. My dad, stubborn as ever, just didn't get it. "Back then, you promised $600K to my mom for her treatment if I left with you. So I was practically an actor you paid for, to boost your ego for 3 years. Now that's over, and I won't renew that contract. Face reality. Don't bother me anymore." I was swapped at birth by those who had their own agendas. They took me from my real family and switched me with their daughter. That family treated me horribly. When I was 5, my foster mom, my mom's sister, couldn't stand it anymore and decided to adopt me herself. That's how I escaped the awful conditions I was in. Then karma hit them with a car accident when I was 10, and they all died. My biological parents found me at a hospital. My foster mother was ill, and I was worn out from looking after her. I stood to change the water basin when it slipped from my hands, shattering loudly on the floor. This was the sight they stumbled upon, taking it as proof I had been mistreated. No matter how I explained it, they wouldn't believe me. The moment they saw me in that hospital, my biological mom started crying. "You've suffered so miserably all these years. When you come home, I'll make up for all your hardships. Her tears fell like something out of a drama, beautiful even when sorrowful. Becky's dad silently placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. I handed her a tissue, which she used to gently dry her eyes, but neither of them offered me a hug. That left me feeling oddly relieved. I thought maybe they didn't really plan to take me home, which aligned with my thoughts. But when I refused to go with them, they tried every way to bring me back. Mom needed a big sum for her surgery back then. Our savings weren't enough, so we decided to sell the house. When they found out, they said they could offer $600,000, but I had to go home with them. I agreed. On the way to Mike's house, Becky's mom happily introduced me to the family members. One brother's married and doesn't live at home much. The younger brother is still in elementary school and was really excited to meet me, his new sister. There's also a sister. When mentioning the sister, Becky's mom was vague and seemed guilty. Why feel guilty? It's just the girl who got switched at birth. She was pampered and loved at Mike's house. I was treated well at my adoptive mom's house too. I didn't say anything because I didn't know what to say. Whatever I said, they wouldn't listen or believe. My silence made Becky's mom think I had an issue with their adopted daughter. She nervously explained how well-behaved and considerate she was, and that I would get along with her just fine. Becky's mom talked until her mouth was dry, looking at me expectantly. I suppressed my nervousness and said, "Got it," without much emotion. Becky's mom looked disappointed. At the time, I didn't know why she was disappointed. Later on, I figured out she was sad not to see me being cautious, happy, or excited. When we got home, Becky greeted me with enthusiasm and hugged me. Big brother Henry was nice, but kind of distant. Little brother Mike had a look of obvious disdain. If Becky's dad hadn't glared at him, he might have tried to sweep me out with a broom. When my adoptive mom took me in, I was old enough to understand she wasn't my biological mom. My real mom was her sister. Later, when I was in middle school, my adoptive mom told me the truth. Asked if I wanted to find my birth mom, she'd help me. I hugged her and said I do, maybe after high school. No matter what, whether we find her or not, you'll always be my mom. Unless you don't want me as your daughter anymore. She laughed and cried, "You little troublemaker. How could I not want you?" When they first showed up and claimed to be my birth parents, I won't lie, I was happy. I dreamed of treating my adoptive mom well, because they felt guilty for losing their daughter. I dreamed of having two homes, two moms who adored me. So when I stepped into Becky's house, I was a bit hopeful. When I got my test paper back from the physics exam, I was happy bringing it home. The happier I was back then, the more disappointed I felt when they misunderstood me. Then slowly, I realized they didn't want their lost daughter. They wanted someone they could control, someone obedient and submissive. That's when I stopped expecting anything from them. I'll never forget when they accused me of cheating, and Henry grabbed my bag and dumped all my books on the floor. Or when Becky encouraged others to bully me at school, trapping me in the girls' bathroom, making me fight back desperately, ending in the hospital with bruises, and Becky's parents just called me a disgrace. Thank God for Jason. Nobody dared to bully me again because of him. There was also a time Becky fell down the stairs, and her dad slapped me without any proof. Only when I insisted on checking security footage did Becky timidly tell the truth. Still, her parents and brother said I was just malicious. After class, a few media people wanted to interview me. I picked the one who recognized me as the physics competition winner. The reporter suggested bringing my parents, and Becky's dad was ready to step up. I apologized and said, "My mom is in City A. If you want her for an interview, it'll be a couple days. She's coming to City B later." Becky's dad was furious that I denied our relationship in public. "You ungrateful brat," he snapped. Becky chimed in, trying to play the guilt card. "Sister, don't say that. Mom and dad will be hurt. After all, you are blood related." Blood relations? Wasn't the reason you brought me back to marry me off. I wasn't allowed to excel in exams. I was supposed to be your backup. I never knew I would speak up like that, and Becky was caught off guard. When the college entrance exams ended, Becky's dad wanted to ship me abroad for a degree, so I could marry their choice. But I'm not a puppet. I'm my own person. For 3 years since they brought me back, they just wanted to use me. Only my adoptive mom cared for and loved me. She's my real family. I shouted loudly. Reporters around began filming and snapping pictures. Jason came over and put a protective arm around me. My friend's not feeling great right now. Let's reschedule. Then he quickly got me out. Only once we were in the car did I emerge from his embrace. I was suffocating, I admit it. Seeing me calm and unaffected, Jason realized I'd done it on purpose. He tapped my forehead, masterful acting. Honestly, I didn't want to target Becky. Being suddenly told you're not the real daughter must be terrifying. She might get discarded by those power-hungry parents. She's in a worse spot than me. But while she fretted over her place, she assumed I was bitter and envious. If she only showed off her privileged life, I could let that go. But she constantly sought trouble for me, framed me, trashed my name, and tried to hurt me. That I couldn't allow. So when Becky falsely claimed I cheated on the college entrance exam, photographs emerged of her cheating in her art exam at the Art Academy of Kyoto. Evidence was undeniably clear. Even if her academic scores were good, even if she passed art exams at prestigious schools, none dared to accept her. I heard they paid a hefty price to bury that scandal. Becky's dad spent a lot of money, but got barely anything out of it. It's like a walking reminder of his favorite saying, embarrassing. He's super into keeping up appearances. But his own daughter and adopted daughter have been embarrassing him over and over. I thought he'd stay in for a while. I totally underestimated how thick-skinned he is, and how flexible a businessman can be. Somehow, he found out I'm dating Jason. He showed up in front of me again, not even worried about losing face. Actually looking kinda relieved. If you're talking rich, Jason's family is way wealthier than Becky's. Seems like he knew me and Jason were kind of close back in high school. But because Becky kept it on the down low, he never knew. If Jason hadn't had my back in high school, no one would have dared to bully me out in the open. Becky's family couldn't have had such a peaceful few years. I'd have stirred things up. Dad put on this fake smile. Jason, right? I remember you from the annual party. You were in middle school then. You've grown so much now. Swing by and have dinner with Molly at our place. Jason knows how much I can't stand that whole family, so he didn't hold back. Yeah, last week Molly and I already went back to the house. The food was decent. Then, he pulled me onto that pink Harley, clicked a helmet on me, completely ignoring the look Dad had while he was grinding his teeth. We took off, leaving him with that gasoline-smelling exhaust. The next day, Becky's dad popped up in front of me again. Jason wasn't around. He carefully began. I know I sorta ignored you guys in the past. But do you really think you'll do well on your own? Look at Jason's family. And your foster family, they're just barely middle class. You think you can fit into Jason's world with that status? You haven't faced the harsh side of society yet. Society's tough. Even for your own happiness, we shouldn't be so at odds. He keeps coming back. It's getting out of hand. Thinking about what Jason told me yesterday, I decided to go all in. I heard Becky's family is having business troubles. What if I use some of my social influence now and talk to a reporter? How's that gonna affect your company? Or if I just whisper a few things in Jason's ear, does it affect your business? Good or bad outcome? It's pretty obvious. Becky's dad, stop messing with me. All I want is to cut ties with you guys. But if you keep coming at me, I can't promise I won't bite back. Seeing soft didn't work, Dad went for hard. Becky said she never planned to cheat, but you pushed her. What if Jason finds out how wicked you are? Would there be a future for you guys? Sure, I might have hinted at the bribery thing to Becky back then. I know how badly she wanted to get into art school. But admit to it. No way. Dad, what are you even talking about? Show some proof with your claims. Becky made the bad decision herself, just so happened to get photographed by a passing reporter. And that reporter works for one of Jason's companies. Anyway, I'm grateful to you guys. Even if you didn't have pure intentions. It was your help that got my mom the surgery money. My mom and brother have been doing okay, because of the money you gave back then. So I really don't want to fight you guys to the death. Becky brought this upon herself. I just want things like they used to be. If you all leave me alone, I won't make any trouble. I think Becky's dad got the memo this time. He didn't come looking for me until college started. Jason told me to pick up my diploma, and the school leadership wanted a photo of me on the honor student board. I didn't say no. During the photo shoot, people I barely knew at school came up for pics with me. Becky was lurking there too, looking worn out after a few days. I flashed my big smile at her. You happy now, Molly? Ruining me happy? Becky looks so pitiful. Why would I be happy? You're too into yourself. Whether you're around or not, does it really matter to me if I'm happy or not? Everything you're going through, you did it to yourself. You're smart enough to know that. If you think you can pin it on me, you've got a lot to prove. I know your dirty laundry better than anyone. Becky backed off looking terrified. I checked the time. Almost noon. I had plans with my mom and brother for a celebratory meal. Skipping the school's invitation, Jason and I left with our diplomas. When we got near the gate, I saw Mom and Bro chatting under the hot sun. I rushed over and playfully scolded them. It's so hot. Didn't I tell you to wait at the restaurant? Why didn't you bring an umbrella? There's shade over there. Why didn't you wait there? Mom teased, giving Jason and me a playful glance. You always said I talk too much. Look who's chatty now. My brother put his head in his hands. Oh no, double the nagging now with both Mom and Sis. Double kill, he joked. I laughed, gave him a light punch, and looked for a cab. Sis, I heard someone say. I turned, surprised to see Henry standing there. Did I really hear him call me that? Had he been swapped out with someone else? Henry's face fell. Our parents want to have a meal with you. I rolled my eyes. No need, I'm busy. In fact, none of you should come looking for me anymore. Let's just keep things separate. Bridges remain bridges, roads remain roads. No need to get on each other's nerves. Henry watched Molly turn away without hesitation, leaving with her foster mom and brother, all smiles. It hurt him so much inside. Molly never picks up the phone when they call, and even if they try different numbers, if she hears their voices, she hangs up immediately. Their dad originally wanted to come to the school to see her himself, but he was worried about being rejected in public and losing face. Henry for some reason volunteered to go. Seeing her laugh and talk with her foster brother drove him mad with jealousy. In the 3 years since, she'd never looked at him with that kind of affectionate expression. Whenever she looked at him, her eyes were emotionless, as if she was looking at a block of wood. No matter how nasty his words, she never reacted. Henry wanted to rush over and ask why she treated someone with no blood relation better than her real brother. After all, he was her own flesh and blood, sharing the same parents. But deep down, Henry knew he had no right to be jealous. After starting college, our dad didn't try to see me again. According to Jason, Becky was sent abroad by them to follow the path they had initially set for me. Go abroad for a degree, then return home for an arranged marriage in 4 years. 3 years later, my brother took the college entrance exams. Coincidentally, he also became the state champion. Reporters flocked to interview him, and they discovered that I too had been a state champion 3 years prior. Plenty of folks dug up the old news and praised our mom's education methods online, simultaneously criticizing my biological parents. Ironically, the company struggled financially over the past couple of years, just starting to bounce back this year, only to lose 2 more partners due to the online backlash. The company is barely surviving. I thought I'd never see them again in my life, but my dad came back. They somehow found out about my good relationship with the professor. They're hoping I can connect them with him to sell a newly developed product. Whether you accept it or not, we are still your family. Blood is thicker than water, so just help us out. It's not like we're asking for much, they said. Since I needed to head back to the lab soon, we met at a small pavilion on campus. Mr. Big Shot in his tailored suit didn't quite match the simple stone bench. I casually swatted away a bug. You do realize, I said with disdain, there are other wealthier and more polite people out there who've tried and failed to get my teacher's work. You don't even have the courtesy or the means. You think you can just waltz in and claim it? Molly, don't forget, he retorted, it's the great genes we gave you that got you here. Without our genes, you wouldn't have become a state champion or made it into this university, let alone gain the professor's favor. What a joke, trying to take credit for my achievements as if it's their doing. Genes? Hilarious. Stop trying to take credit. My success has nothing to do with you. If it's about genes, well, Mike's grades were okay, but not outstanding, and Henry's were abysmal. If we're talking upbringing, then look at what they did with Becky, turned her into a cheater. My brother and I have always excelled academically, thanks to our foster mom. My excellence is all about her. There is one thing, though, that I have in common with your family, I added. I have a cold nature. Even seeing my own biological parents like this, I feel indifferent. Maybe that trait did come from my genes. I don't get why you still come to me. 3 years ago, I made it clear, don't expect anything from me. I owe you nothing. I stood up and brushed the dust off myself. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you. I have recordings of all the insults from 3 years ago, including the talk at school. I'm a firm believer in being prepared. So don't try any emotional blackmail, or else it'll be you who loses. I walked away slowly, leaving him in disbelief. Later, I heard Becky was called back home before even graduating. She got engaged to a rich playboy, and the company started to see some improvement. However, with society developing so fast, and with my dad's old school, relationship-based management style, the company will eventually decline. This so-called improvement is just a temporary reprieve before the inevitable downturn. And from what I hear, Becky isn't doing all that well either. She married a real playboy. Even after getting hitched, he totally didn't settle down. He was busy every day scheming with others. But none of that really has anything to do with me. After I graduated college, I continued my studies with Professor Lee for my master's. Then went for a PhD, and after that, I stayed at the school to teach. I bought a house in the area. Wanted to bring Mom over, but she said she's used to living in City A. She just won't move. During holidays, Jason and I go back home to see her. Oh yeah, the year I graduated college, Jason and I got married. His family really likes me too. For the past couple of years, he worked his way up from the bottom at the headquarters in City B. He slowly moved into management, then applied to become the branch's GM. I guess you could say we both followed our dreams. And I believe that in the future, things will only get better for me. Jason's mom came to see me, sitting across with a serious face, frowning now and then. Jason always said his family would definitely like me. Looks like he might have been a bit off about that. She sat for quite a while, not saying a word, just sizing me up. Finally, she sighed and started rummaging through her bag. I raised an eyebrow. She better not be looking for a checkbook. In the end, she pulled out 2 big folders labeled resume and awards in neat handwriting. She opened the awards folder first, pulling out a bunch of certificates. These were all the awards Jason got growing up, the competitions, the medals. This kid was smart from the get-go. I was a bit puzzled. Was this to prove I wasn't good enough for her son? She went through each award like they were treasures, then opened the resume folder. It was full of Jason's photos. She arranged them by age. Jason was good-looking from a young age, and now he's quite handsome. His genes are outstanding. She eagerly looked at me. As a partner, in terms of looks and brains, he's a catch. Girl, you can't miss out on him. I was stunned, feeling like I'd been hit by lightning. She continued to sell him, speaking earnestly. Really, when finding a partner, you can't just look at the face. If they're good-looking but not smart, that's no good either. Smarts without looks isn't great, seeing as you'll be looking at them every day. Guys like Jason, who are smart and good-looking, are rare. You'll really hit the jackpot with him as a boyfriend. A bolt of lightning struck me, leaving me dazzled. Auntie, I'm actually already dating Jason. Huh. She looked shocked at first, then totally skeptical. No way. Such a sweet girl like you. How'd you end up with someone as introverted as Jason? It turns out, Jason was always reserved growing up, especially around girls. His whole family thought he'd be single forever. When they heard he had a girl he liked, they wanted to help him secure her ASAP. Thought they'd miss the chance if they didn't hurry. Yet they never guessed Jason was so decisive, handling his lifelong commitment so quickly right after the college entrance exams. His family often marveled. That kid's always been decisive, even in love. He's really got the family spirit. The end.